Hello everybody, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. This is part 2 of a painting from Australia from a gentleman named Guy. So Guy, thank you for sending these photos. Okay, so I'm going to have the photo here. I'm going to finish product from this video here, and then I'm going to superimpose either here or here the wet stage, the first result. So let's jump into it. I think I'm going to work my way back to front, looking closely at this picture. There is what appears to be a mountain range catching the glow of the sun back here. So I'm going to kind of emphasize that some. This is raw sienna. I'll name the colors as I go along. Of course, you are welcome to follow along with any painting that I do. And I believe Mr. Guy will allow me to post this original picture on my Patreon. So, please consider, liking and subscribing to this page. And also, please consider supporting me on Patreon. This is a mixture of ultramarine and light red oxide. Just getting a distant purple for parts of these mountains. That might be too strong, so I'll just kind of push it around a little bit here. All right. So just pulling these mountains out a little bit more. In this region we did ultramarine blue and lemon yellow, which when we put that in, I had talked about how it's kind of vibrant originally and it'll try to push itself forward in the picture plane. It did dry very softly. I'm going to put it back in just so we can show this emphasis. The yellow and the green colors may try to push forward. So to combat that, you can use the aerial perspective where you can have the bluer tones or the grayer tones to things. Or one thing you could play around with is having that same color but closer in the picture plane. So I'm going to have this yellowish green color closer to us in the grass on the side, and it's going to be in larger size. So kind of using a linear perspective with it to make it appear larger compared to this grouping. I'm going to mix a little bit of burnt umber, burnt sienna for this area of grass back here. I'm going to switch over to the hake in a moment. Right now I'm just kind of playing around with these thinner areas. I'll switch to the hake. Lemon yellow, ultramarine. I may have to put some more pigment out. We'll see. This textured effect will hopefully help that come forward. right. Let's see. You can look back at our gray, that light red oxide and ultramarine blue. I believe that can make itself useful in some other spots, such as along this edge. And along this edge here. Almost some pure ultramarine there. I'll allow it. I'll let it get colorful. And narrow this here. And it comes back here. Just kind of bank of the water. All right. Grab some burnt umber. Trying to strengthen pigment some. Burnt umber into this ultramarine mix. Now, I'm gonna use the #1 rigger for this guy coming up here. Up there. And the goal is to get this one to stand out in front of what's in the background for us to get our depth. We're going to help it sit in place. In fact, I'll use the hake there. Bring some foliage in. I do have a lot of water on the hake. It is kind of throwing this off some. Ultramarine and raw sienna. Putting a darker foliage. Trying to get this crispness to contrast against that softness. Lemon yellow for this greenery off the side. I don't feel like there's, I'm kind of creating a path right in here. I think I'll allow that. I'm going to switch to the #4 rigger. You really don't need a lot of different brushes, but the #4 rigger has allowed me to hold more pigment for whenever I'm putting in a lot of tree trunks. And it just isn't as crisp as the #1. It's just a convenience tool. If you have a light hand, you can obviously stay with the #1. And these are in here in different clusters and groups. I think eventually, as I can get that lighter hand, I wonder if this one can entirely replace the number 1. You can get some really nice calligraphy strokes with it. We might leave an opening in here, opening in this spot. This is 11 by 14, and if it was to be matted, and I'll show what it'll look like matted, it would be about here. Using the side of this, just in the same fashion that we used the side of the number 1, get this really cool texture. It helps with the ground. I'll even bring that texture here. We have some areas that are super dark amongst these roots. This is ultramarine and burnt umber. Change the angle of these marks to create that lift of the bank to kind of round it out up and over. Hopefully it can be read in that fashion. I do find it's kind of mentioned this before in I think a pretty recent video, is that your mind, or at least my mind, will get so caught up in the painting and I'll see it for what it is, but then I wonder if other people's minds read it the same way, because they weren't as invested and focused as when you were putting it in. I'm going to take the side of this, I'm going to experiment with how we want to create this water, whether it's a dry brush have those rocks. Dry brush some burnt umber. Okay, let's move back into our trees. We have a few prominent big old trees we could put in here. This one, not too concerned about the shape, but the one that originates right here is the one I'm more going to be focused on. Set them in place, but I think I should use foliage as well. Raw sienna. this one get grounded more. And while we're at it, let's look at this bigger one that starts right here. I'm just using ultramarine and the burnt umber to kind of kick things off, but he's going to have a variety. Like I can grab some raw sienna to feed right there. We have his branches that come out. We haven't done any scraping, so we could take a card. Give the illusion. This guy's coming out. His branches. Grab a little bit of Payne's gray. Let these things darken up some. Gray elements. And I'm going to grab some of this dark and go along these regions to get the little bit of twigs and stuff that are coming out. Bring a group of trees starting from this lower area here. And scrape there. Okay. Hake brush texture. Burnt sienna for this kind of dried up brush on the side. I can scrape. Okay, looking at it close, there's the dried up brush here, and then there's a green leaf that I do not know what it is. That I think I can use my lemon yellow and ultramarine right there. It's something you could probably omit. The texture, kind of do a little contour shape where it bends down and it comes down to the water. So out and down. There's a little the choking point right here where it comes through. And it widens here. Comes to this spot. And there we go. All right. Burnt umber. I'm going to grab some light red oxide. And let that start having fun in the foreground with it. That'll definitely push forward. And that might help, considering we have such a high horizon line. Something like this bold will help push the lower fourth forward. Grabbing some cerulean blue. This land out a little bit more, so I'm going to change to a dark. Mainly because of perspective. I want to make sure that it recedes correctly. Okay. Let's I really dry brush some darker foliage. So this is burnt umber and ultramarine. Some brush here. There we go. That's what I needed to kind of help it set. That's what it was. Just those horizontal strokes. Okay, I grab some lemon yellow for some stronger, closer green. You could always switch over to a dark for these closer marks as well. And I think I'm going to wind up wrapping this up in a few minutes. We can continue in this fashion. We could find areas to emphasize, like this. This is some Payne's Gray, emphasizing these corners, emphasizing some darks. Coming back in and playing around here and here. let's just do a dry off and we'll see where we're at. Let's see where we're at time wise. Yeah, we're at 25 minutes. So let me pause this for a dry off. All right. So here we are 25 minutes into the kind of the dry brush stage. I'm thinking I'm going to leave it at this for now. I may come back and paint on it for one more session, kind of play it by ear. You know, of course, please like, subscribe, follow. Thank you, Guy from Australia, for sending a beautiful photo for us to work from. You know, please consider supporting me on Patreon, and of course, you could always contact me on any social media. First of all, if you ever follow anything, I would love to see what you did. If you ever want me to try to attempt something, let me know. You know, like I said, this was from a scene from Australia, and I think earlier in the week I had done one from a cotton ball, so I need to do some more cotton ball paintings. But yeah, I'll talk to y'all soon, and have a great day.